Welcome to the Dr. Berkson's Best Health Radio Show. And I'm Dr. Berkson, and on this show, I love to have agile thinkers so that you can be a better agile thinker in your life, because we're all overwhelmed with so much information, but it's hard to know what's not fake news and what's real health news for you. And also, I really want you to go to iTunes and click on a review so you can help. If you love this information and you love hearing my agile thinkers, you can pass this information forward. I have somebody on the show today that one summer we spent several days rafting down the Rogue River in Oregon because we were rather rogue. And we played, it was so calm. It was so relaxing. I think we even had a Scrabble board and took out a board and played Scrabble while we're floating down the river. And it makes me remember this song. So people would pay me not to sing, but I thought of this song because whenever I think of that experience, which is so molded and melded into my gray matter, it just is a lovely memory that I'll hold for my whole life with this agile thinker that's one of the very first physicians in the United States doing detox. I know there's a few others along with him, but he's really one of the fathers of detox. So our experience together with Dr. Barry Taylor, who's going to be on in a few moments, was on this 3 days of languish floating down the Rogue River. And it makes me think of Marlene Dietrich's song, On a Lazy Afternoon. So I'm going to sing you the first few words of this song because Dr. Taylor reminds me of this. And here you go. And I don't know whether you're going to be turning the show off now or not, but the song says that feeling that he and I shared. And then we're going to dive into detox with one of the fathers of detox. It's a lazy afternoon, and the beetle bugs are zooming, and the tulip trees are blooming, and there's not another human in view. Marlene Dietrich's supposed to be singing this, but us too. It's a lazy afternoon with you. Dr. Barry Taylor, it was a lazy several days on the Rogue River several decades ago, and now you're here on this show. Welcome to the Dr. Berkson's Best Health Radio.
She's a songstress. She's a diva. She's a diva.
My first name's Devaki. So Dr. Taylor is a trained naturopathic physician from National College in Oregon, and I went there when there was a dual program with Western states. And he has practiced naturopathic medicine since 1978. And he was a chief consultant on complementary medicine for NBC News in New England from 1991 to 2005, and he's participated in dozens of TV programs about natural medicine. What is it? And what does it offer for you? But the big reason that we've got Barry on the show, besides him having a lazy set of afternoons with myself and both of us being rogue on the Rogue River, is that Dr. Taylor, decades ago, developed a detox, clean out your mind, body, spirit program. And he's literally treated thousands of clients, over 15,000 people. So a lot of people are into detox, but I don't know anybody else except Bernard Jensen, who had the Hidden Valley Health Ranch decades ago before Dr. Taylor, who has really put 15,000 people around the country in his Love Your Body program. Love Your Body program. In fact, now he is training new naturopathic doctors at the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine in Tempe, Arizona, about his Love Your Body program because he is such a unique naturopathic physician, because he teaches people how to cope effectively with unwanted physical, but as well as emotional patterns like depression, stress, and anxiety. So he's a coach a coach physician that's been using detox for years. And he's also written a book on this, which is an exceptionally great book. His son helped him write it, and right when they were working on it, I read it and I was impressed. It's called Love Your Body. Your path to transformation, health, and healing. And it's received dozens of 5-star ratings on Amazon, etc. But welcome, 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 my rogue companion from the old Rogue River days.
My sister from another mother.
So
I thank you so much for your enthusiasm. I love your commitment. I have learned so much from you over the years, and I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you for your listeners and your network of people who love what you're offering, see what I could contribute to the conversation of health. Thanks for having me on.
So everyone loves it, the word detox. It's a buzzword. I've been teaching in my new course that detox has to move mainstream, but you've been doing detox longer than most people, and you've done it on 15,000 people. So how did it start? We weren't taught back 40 years ago in naturopathic and in nutritional and in chiropractic college about detox as much as it's common today. So how did you know that this was so important? And share with us your journey.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. I was extremely sick as a kid. I was almost left back 4 different years in a row, tons of strep and antibiotics, and headaches every single day. So when I went to college and was hospitalized for breathing internally, my yoga teacher,
What does breathing internally mean? What do you mean?
bleeding
Bleeding internally. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I wasn't clear. So my yoga teacher said, well, why don't you see this man who might help you? So I started seeing somebody here in Boston, where I was going to college, who was an MD, ND, got his medical degree in 1930 and his naturopathic degree in 1932.
What was his name?
Dr. Louis Balat.
Okay.
So I started working with him quite extensively, and he would put me on brewer's yeast and desiccated liver and handfuls of vitamins. And as I was doing that, he said, would you consider doing a rest 1 day a week? And so every Monday for a year, I just did vegetables. And at the end of that year, he said, are you ready for the next step? And I said, sure. He said, okay, how about 3 days once a month? So I did 1 day a week, 3 days a month for a second year. And at the end of that second year, he said, what's the next step? And he said, how about 1 day a week, 3 days a month, and 2 weeks every quarter?
What do you mean by that? Break that down. It's a little confusing to me. What do you mean 1 day a week, 3 days a month? So
where he guided me through different cleanses and detoxes. Some of them were just juices. Some of them were just as much vegetables as you wanted to eat. And so by the time I graduated college, I hadn't eaten something like 300 days that year. I had done different kinds of cleansing and detoxing. So you asked, how did it start? Instead of going to divinity school, where I thought I was headed, I went to naturopathic school because I didn't
know you were going to go to divinity school. That makes sense. You have so much emphasis on the spirit well as the body. That makes so much sense. I learn something about my guests all the time, as well as my community learning.
Yeah. So instead of going to divinity school, where I thought I didn't want to be a rabbi, a priest, or a minister, I was going to teach comparative religion at the college level. I thought that was a good gig to do meditation. And instead of doing that, I went to naturopathic school. And so I was one in a class of kids who were very interested in vitamins and natural therapies, but they'd never worked with a man like I had gone through several years of detoxing. That was my roots of not just taking vitamins and minerals, but really resting my body to clean out toxins. In my case, clean out residues of penicillin and drug residues and other kinds of preservatives and additives and things like that.
Did it get rid of your bleeding internally? I mean, did they ever find out what that was, or did the cleaning and resting your body get rid of that?
The cleaning and resting, that was from an irritation of taking so much Bufferin in my high school for headaches. And yeah, the detoxing made an enormous difference where those headaches gradually went away. I had thinned out where I was no longer overweight. I was very overweight in junior high and high school. But it was a question of being, I was in a thin body, but I still had the headset in my mind of being overweight. We can get to that when we talk about some of the other things in the Love Your Body program. So going through naturopathic training was a wonderful gift of me looking at how to evaluate people, similar, different to how you evaluate people, in terms of the physicalness. And a core of my work has always been not like, do you need to cleanse, but when is it a good time to cleanse? Is your blood sugar steady enough? Is your adrenals burnt out? Do we need to kind of build you up before we give your liver, lungs, kidney, skin, lymphatics a chance to clean out and eliminate more effectively than, quote, a normal person?
That's something that a lot of people don't understand is that if you go on cleanses, and I liked your concept, it's not just clearing the bad stuff out of you, it's allowing your body to rest. That rest, as Europeans understand, most of them, unless they own their own business, take off 6 weeks a year where they're off the computer, out of work, and they're really resting. And it makes them be able to eat a more unusual diet that here in the United States, a lot of doctors would say is not healthy. It's called the French paradox. And yet they have less disease and less premature mortality than we do as a nation because they rest. So I love that concept that you've merged the understanding of it's not just cleaning the bad stuff out. It's also giving your body a rest.
Right.
We need that as a culture. We need to give our bodies a rest. So how did you end up developing the Love Your Body programs, which is now kind of your signature program? It's your book, it's your programs, and it's your life career.
Yeah. Regarding the rest, out of 15,000 people is it's a pretty big sample of people who've gone through the Love Your Body program. It's amazing how many people at the end of a cleanse, at least my 3-week cleanses, will say, my energy's terrific. And I'll say something like, we often don't appreciate how much energy it takes to digest food. And I'm not saying nobody should ever have fish or chicken or other kinds of more complicated foods that people don't do when they do cleanses. But it is amazing the energy that's released when people will put themselves into some kind of structure of resting. And when I say resting, see, for me, the Love Your Body program is more of a holistic adventure where they're also resting how they're thinking. I'm not inviting people to think like I do necessarily, but to look at how they're thinking and the Love Your Body programs are not fasting. There are 4 different food options while people go through Love Your Body programs.
So are they all 3 weeks long? You just mentioned that in a few sentences ago.
Most Love Your Body programs are 3 weeks long, and then have a follow-up 2 weeks later. They used to be the first. During the 80s and 90s, people would come to me from all over the country. Now they're done online. It's easy. People can do them from anywhere in the country. And there are 4 different food options so that people can look at, if they're hooked on coffee, how to stabilize their blood sugar more, or how to, this is not having a protein drink first thing in the morning and then not eating all day long. So I'm teaching people about the physicalness of what foods are good for what organs as they, a word you and I have been using the last 25, 30 years, upregulate their organs of elimination so that their organs of elimination, they're sweating more, their colon's working more efficiently, their lungs, they're breathing more.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So you have 3-week Love Your Body programs, and do you have a number of different 3-week Love Your Body programs so people can make a choice out of them, or do people start with stage 1 and then go to stage 2? How does that work?
There were different Love Your Body programs. Now there's one Love Your Body program that's called The Power of Commitment. And when they get handouts, they get to choose what path they want to go through. Some people want to do just vegetables. Option 2 might be vegetables and grain. Option 3 might be vegetables, grain, and throw in some sunflower seeds and almonds. I mean, for a lot of people, even option 3 is a bit of a cleanse.
So they eat like that for 3 weeks? They're giving up animal protein for 3 weeks.
Correct.
And then they have variations on the theme of how power-packed they want to make that 3 weeks.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And we might, for somebody, recommend something to keep their blood sugar steady and how to eat healthier snacks and what protein drinks or what herbs to push the liver, push the kidneys more effectively, depending on a form that they fill out. That would just give me a quick overview of who they are and what they've been challenged by and what some of their goals are.
So, how do you decide? How do you approach the mind, body, spirit of each individual person going through this 3 weeks with you?
It's as much as how they approach it, different than how I approach it. There are 4 Love Your Body sessions, right, over 21 days, and then there's a 2-week follow-up. That's the 5th session. So regarding, there are agreements that people have. Everybody does a mirror process. Everybody's physically exercising. There's a meadow meditation for 10 minutes that I send people. And we have discussions. Right now, there are videos that people see online, and there are also discussions that people have. So regarding some of the mental aspects, I am challenging people not to believe what I believe or suggesting to them that what they believe is incorrect. But I am asking them to look at how they're thinking and how they're feeling. So in the 2nd session, we explore trust. Do people have a relationship with their own body that they trust themselves to heal? Do they have a user-friendly relationship with their body? Or are they just popping vitamins? Are they just exercising? People could even mechanically be practicing mindfulness and just sitting and meditating like a good doobie, because that's what I should be doing. And it's not really working for them regarding awareness of, well, what's it like?
What do you mean by a good doobie? So I'm doing good, but
Yeah.
it's not that you're really doing good deep enough. You're going through the motions of doing good. Okay, I'm going to meditate for a half hour in the morning and I'm doing everything right and exercising, but I still don't have a viable, living, pulsating relationship with my head and everything beneath my neck.
So in some way, Linz, it's too superficial. So while Love Your Body programs are not group psychotherapy in any way, shape, or form, it's not about people sharing their vulnerability as much as they can. In no way. It's very, very private. It's a very sacred process, even though, like you, I like to have people have a lot of fun. But it is about integrating and people looking at a lot of their beliefs. People start with, when they come to me with their eczema, their breast cancer, their colitis, their asthma, their being overweight, whatever it is. For most people, the context is something's wrong and I need to fix it. What are you going to give me to get rid of this? Now, I'm not saying I want my clients to have their symptoms longer. I'm offering them to shift the context to, what's the blessing in disguise here? What is it that my body is attempting to teach me? So we're doing different exercises. People are doing different exercises on their own. When you do Love Your Body programs, it takes 20, 30 minutes a day for 3 weeks in a row for people to look at different aspects of themselves. When I say mentally, I mean the degree to which they're on automatic. Their monkey mind, I call it. They don't have thoughts. They are their thoughts. They're not aware of how they're proceeding in life because things are so mechanized.
I love when you say that. I just have to make a comment. One of the statements I think of a lot, you go through your life and you hear a few statements and some of them really stick with you. And Carolyn Meese was giving a talk a few decades ago. And she said, people think that our biggest addictions are nicotine or alcohol, but they're really our thoughts. And they're so addictive, we don't even know that these are our biggest addictions. So you are within the Love Your Body because your thoughts are so creative and so powerful. You're getting people to look at their thoughts as well as rest and detox. That's pretty brilliant, I have to say.
Well, thank you for bringing Carolyn in. I've been a big fan of Carolyn for several decades. Her book and then her tape or CD of Why People Don't Heal, that people have some kind of relationship. She uses the word, it's not my word, woundology.
I love that. And
Yeah,
a lot of time when you have a toxic relationship, your wounded neurology resonated with somebody else's wounded neurology. And that's why the
exactly.
two of you come together, right?
Yeah. And so I'm, without using woundology, it's the same kind of orientation that I'm asking people to look at with poetry and music and some writing processes in Love Your Body programs, for people to look at their fundamental relationship of trust. Are they really accessed to their capacity to heal? One of my goals for people coming through Love Your Body programs is for them to leave with a powerful experience of themselves as a healer, not just theoretically connecting to that their body is wise, but having an experience from the inside that this is not like eating this way or exercising more or meditating as a should, but out of some honorable, respectable relationship that you've explored and then kind of aligned yourself with. I often use in Love Your Body programs the analogy of when you get out of bed, when you're laying in bed, do you think of like, should I go brush my teeth now? You just kind of get up and brush your teeth. It's kind of ingrained, it's integrated. So rather than focusing on the right way or the wrong way to eat, so many people, food is like a religion. It's all about rights and wrongs and eat this way. So Love Your Body programs, when I say it's about people listening and exploring the way that they're stressed, it's about them having more peace and
I
more.
kind of hear it as you're seeing, is this right? That when you're ill, you've broken up with your body in a sense, you're out of sync. And your Love Your Body programs are remediation for you to get back in better relationship with yourself, kind of like going to a body, mind, spirit therapist for yourself. So you could remediate or become more congruent with yourself. So illness, not necessarily that it's your fault or terrible, but in some
Right,
way, something's out of sync. You've broken up. You're not in tune with yourself like you might be out of tune with a spouse, and
right.
your program retweaks your relationship with yourself.
And ill, years ago, Lynn, somebody said ill stands for I lack love. So that I came up with this name of putting people together. The question you asked a few moments ago, how did I come to do this? Well, I had all this individual experience going through cleanses and cleanses and cleanses for days and 3 days and 2 weeks and 6 weeks at a time of just doing juices or just brown rice or different variations of food. And as I became trained to lead seminars in different organizations of workshops that I had taken, I realized that the energy of a group is different than an energy of a team. So one of my loves has been, since 1981, when I designed Love Your Body programs, of moving people from groups of people into teams of people. And very few people, unless they've done Love Your Body programs, and there might well be other things like this, but I'm told that Love Your Body programs are pretty unique, have an opportunity to be on a team where everyone on your team is committed to explore the nature of healing. Everyone on the team, like a baseball team or a football team or a volleyball
What's
team
the difference between a group and a team?
well, it's a very different energy dynamic. A group of people are not necessarily aligned on the same results.
Okay.
You could go be part of a group to learn German or English or poetry, and you're there as an individual. Group dynamics energetically are totally different than the energetics of a team. You are brilliant. You are amazing when you lecture and you're in front of a room. You move those 3, 4, 500, 1,000 people, or could be less, from a group of people listening to you to a team of people because of how charismatic you are. Not just how clear and wise you are, which you are exceptionally clear and wise, but you have an energy that moves them to go to the same place together. That's a team dynamic. So I'm working with people, 20, 30, 50, 100, 150 people in Love Your Body programs. Many of them have had emotional traumas. They've got shame, image challenges with their body. They've got all sorts of unidentified, I don't like my body, I hate my acne, I hate my weight. They've got all sorts of judgments. And inside that context, they're taking all sorts of herbs, all sorts of acupuncture, all sorts of God knows what, wondering why they only have 5, 10, 20, 50% relief. And it's all, so in Love Your Body programs, we coach people to release shame and release that, because the third session of Love Your Body programs is a deep dive into the nature of forgiveness and the nature of compassion and the journey it is for us as human beings of suffering. And how do you identify that and express it and release it? Remember, the Love Your Body program is not group psychotherapy, so that people can feel more connected. That's the spiritualness. See, in Love Your Body programs, we don't do stuff about past lives or chakras. I'm not sure about any of that stuff. Maybe it exists, maybe not. But I know that when I did my thesis on Gandhi in college, that he fasted to get in touch with his connection with the source of life, is what he wrote. And that's what I got when I was working with Dr. Balat in the late 60s, early 1970s. So,
That's so interesting, because I first heard a lecture by Dr. Bernard Jensen, who I think was even later in his career nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. And he was talking about how we are what we eat. I heard that from Scott Nearing. And Dr. Bernard Jensen had the Hidden Valley Health Ranch in Escondido, California, when it looked like mainly orange groves and avocados. I went there now and I had a moment of sadness to see what it was like. But people would come from all over the world and detox and rest and heal. And we would go out and gather chaparral from the surrounding countryside when I was doing sashims, when I was a yoga teacher in Phoenix, and we would use those herbs to do detox. And what I noticed when I did a lot of that work was how much it brought you in touch with whatever we want to call it, whether it's God or spirit or that space within us that holds us, that sacred space. And it's interesting how resting on the body, mind, spirit level can do that. Can you give us some of your more spectacular, now you've done 15,000 people, you've got to have unbelievable stories. I want to hear all your stories, your best ones of some really amazing transformations.
yeah. And while I can define transformation, let me share a couple of case histories and a couple of people, and then we can come back to why did I put in the title of my book, Love Your Body, Your Path to Transformation? Because transformation is very different than change. I recall a 33-year-old man who came to me with severe allergies, and he had taken 10, 12 years worth of allergy shots, had done them on and off, and nothing really worked. And he had terrible, terrible skin allergies, and he was starting to get asthma. And he was beginning to go on asthma medications, somewhat working, somewhat not working. Went through a Love Your Body program. And I start to talk about energy that's kept in the body, that we're not aware that there's certain energy that we haven't experienced. Why isn't it experienced? Well, maybe we grow up with a belief, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, or you have no right to be angry. We judge ourselves, or we've been parented by people who love us, but in belief systems where that's a bad emotion. Don't have that. So this man is 33, has terrible allergies. And we're going through trust, and then we're going through forgiveness in the third session. He's only in the second week of the Love Your Body program. And he tells me that his skin is clearing up. Well, 3 months later, out of the Love Your Body program, I speak to this man, and I said, what is it that you learned? What happened? He said, well, my skin allergies are totally gone, and my breathing is better. I said, what happened? He said, I realized in the forgiveness process that when I was 8 years old, my grandfather died. I was extremely close with him, and I couldn't go to his funeral. And I never realized until I was in your course that I had some sadness to release, that I never got to say goodbye to my grandfather. I said, wow. I said, how wonderful. I have a handout, a poem called The Blessing Inside Sorrow. That's part of the forgiveness process. And he was reading it. And he was an example of one of hundreds and hundreds of people, not all to be sure, of people who, regardless of their arthritis or their colitis, that part of their physiology, part of their breakdown is, they need to detox their pesticides and their hormones that are from chicken or eggs or dairy or different things, heavy metals. But here's a man who his allergies got completely better by, term I use is, he got to write a letter and get complete with his grandfather. And it also could be said he recovered that 8-year-old little boy who was really hurt and didn't get to grieve. And he didn't need weeks and weeks and weeks of psychotherapy. Now,
That's so interesting, because there is a form of psychotherapy called family constellations, where you take a look of your parents and then their parents and their parents, and you take a look at commonality in crises. And a lot of times things are repeated. And so there's this understanding of the bigger picture within families, but there isn't as much an understanding of the bigger picture within ourselves, that we have constellation of various forms of ourself. And sometimes when one of our past selves is still hurting and that's not been released, that could be showing up in the present as a condition that's not getting better.
Yeah. In Hellinger's work, you're referring to the Hellinger, who was brilliant. Oh my God, he was so brilliant. He talks about it as a legacy pattern, that people can have legacy patterns. They're holding something that is down through the generations of their family. Another story to tell you is, but I'm picking one woman who comes to mind. I won't mention her name. A 42-year-old woman who'd been struggling all of her life since she said 5-6 years old, struggling with weight, losing weight, gaining weight, keeping it off for 2-3 years, then gaining 40, 50, 60 pounds, doing another diet. Then by the time she was coming to me, she was having a real hard time losing it, which is very, very common. Unfortunately, people go into these diets. Remember the first 3 letters of diet, D-I-E. I'm a big Richard Simmons fan. So I hate using the word diet. I tend to use the word food plan. So this woman was dieting, and unfortunately, she didn't know the concept of burning it off. So she was trying to just eat minimal calories, and she was stuck. And maybe she had some, underactive thyroid, and so there were some other aspects that were just not working. I mean, she was pretty unhealthy physically with all the weight she'd gained and lost over several decades. But she comes into my program, and I tell her my story of Huskies didn't fit me. I used to have to go into New York City and buy extra Huskies. I was very, very overweight until I kind of grew up.
And you're very buffed now. So for people listening, he is very buffed now.
Thanks, Liz. So, but what happened was
just
that
the facts, ma'am. Just the facts.
Yeah. So I grew up, 16, 17 years old. I did get vertical and I did lose a lot of weight. But when I was 30, I was in a workshop doing a process with like 110 people, and we weren't nude. We were in our bathing suits, and I was standing in front of a mirror. And looking at the mirror, I realized I was a fat person in a thin body. So I take that humility, I take that hurt and the shame that I carried, where when I was 30, 35, if walking on a beach with a bathing suit, if you would have said, do you have concerns? Are you ashamed? Are you shy about your body? I would have said no. But in the midst of a meditation, in the midst of a mirror process, I realized that there were some unresolved issues between my ears. There were weight issues that were different than just what the scale said. So I've put a considerable amount of that, how to love your body, how to accept your body, those toes, that hair, your long
So
fingers.
how did you do that with this 42-year-old woman? So what happened with her?
What happened with her is that for every day for 21 days, with the handouts that go along with a mirror process, in the privacy of her home. We don't do that as a group, even when I did people in my clinic. We don't do this together. In the privacy of her home, in her closet, in her bathroom, in her bedroom, she stood in front of a mirror, and I coach people, Lindsay, between the difference between looking at yourself and being with yourself. I coach people, I coached her how to just be with what you see over there.
Now,
And
give
what
me a few examples of what you might do. Let's say that I'm right now, and I'm not, in my bathing suit or in my, you know, derriere, and
right?
I'm in the room, and let's say I'm one of these people, and I don't even want to look at myself. I don't even want to look, and what I see, I hate. I hate. I'm terrible, which is what a lot of women, I was just getting my nails done a month ago, and a woman sitting next to me was totally had her head in her hands because she's going to turn 40. She's over the hill and she hated herself. And I was
Yes.
sitting there next to her, and I was ending up having a love your body experience to try and help her. But so let's say I'm one of these millions upon billions of women who hate themselves when they're looking in the mirror. What might be some of the conversations and how you might coach?
Yeah, it's a legitimate question. It takes a lot to teach people slash coach people and to guide them into the energy field of compassion, to guide people into the conversation of acceptance, and for them to first, using your words, notice how you're judging yourself. Notice the negative self-talk. Can you just, and I use myself as an example, that when I did this 30, 40 years ago, I would judge myself for judging. Okay, can you notice you're judging? Okay, so you're not observing yourself. So a key in Love Your Body programs, what would I do is I keep coaching both with the handouts, with the videos, to get people to be able to learn how to be mindful. Mindfulness is not just continuing to analyze and judge.
Well, so what happened to this 42-year-old woman? We keep leaving her off the court. What was her epiphany? And then did that epiphany translate into her being able to keep her weight
Yeah,
normal?
yeah, thanks. Yeah, she had a breakthrough, and she's one of hundreds, many, many hundreds of people who had a breakthrough in the cycle of using food to deal with emotions, using food to deal with her discontent, using food to deal with she's not aligned with her purpose in life. So what happened to her is she finally got it. It took a practice. Mindfulness, though, given the way we're all programmed and wired up, the chapter in my book is on conditioned. It's called The Conditioned Mind. We're very conditioned, whether you do it with Carolyn May style or your style or my style, we're very conditioned to listen to the negative self-talk. So what happened to her is she gradually, slowly persisted in learning the language of compassion and empathy with herself. And I taught her about gratitude. I taught her about generosity. I taught her about how to be present with those feelings of negativity and judgments. I taught her that it was okay to have those thoughts about herself. It's like one of my meditation teachers said, it's okay to have those thoughts, don't invite them to tea. Of how do you not buy into those
So what's
thoughts?
this lady doing right now? Are you still in touch with her?
I've not, well, this woman in particular that I brought you up to no, because she did the program twice, three times, maybe 15 years ago, but completely over time lost the weight, and then stabilized. So I ask people to focus on not their goal is weight loss, but what do you need to learn to keep it off? What do you need to learn? And in her case, Lynn's, what she needed to keep working on was her mother was overweight. There were things in her family that she wasn't resolved with, and she needed to find hobbies and ways of dealing with stress so that food was not her drug of choice. And this woman, as far as I know, has lost the weight, and she's not looking over her shoulder wondering if she's going to gain the weight back any longer.
So what is a holistic detox?
Mm. Holistic detox for me is that it's not only looking at the liver and its wondrousness doing 3,000 functions, and your lung and your skin considered as a third lung, and your colon as a way of helping you absorb and assimilate, and the microbiome. I mean, those are aspects that I teach people about, the physical aspects. But when I'm loving to open the conversation for people about how their mind works, how they experience.
So you're talking about doing it on all levels. Is that what it is?
I'm talking about people having a sense of, are you a physical person having occasional spiritual experiences, or is your primary identity as a spiritual being, here's your word that I know you like to use, in a bodysuit, having a physical experience? So a holistic detox would be a time out, whether you do it for 3 days, Love Your Body programs happen to be 21 days, where you're looking at different aspects of what's going on mentally, what's going on spiritually, what's going on emotionally, in a context of your physical body.
So how do people get a hold of you to sign up for this course? Because now you can do it with people all over the world. So how do people get a hold of you, Dr. Taylor?
www.drbarrytaylor.com. And there's a whole section on my website, drbarrytaylor.com, on Love Your Body. And they can email me at drbarry@drbarrytaylor.com is my email address. And there's all sorts of videos and introductions if they're interested in participating.
And why do people repeat this program? You say some people do this program multiple times.
Because we all get, thanks, I appreciate it. When I designed it, Linz, I had no idea that people were going to do it a second time. And right now, maybe 2,000, 3,000 people have done it twice. There's maybe another 4,000 people who've done it 5 or more times. I think it has something to do with...
What's your most amazing story of someone who's done it the most times? I mean, because we're winding out of time here now. So I'd love to hear, like, one person took it 5 times. They must have really been getting multiple benefits from it. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. I remember a man named John many, many years ago. God, I pray John is great. He signed up for 3 programs in a row after he finished his first program. And he paid, and over the next 6 months, he did a program for 3 weeks, and then he'd take 2 or 3 weeks off, and then he did another program. And for him, he realized that he was so dedicated to his work. He had a construction business. And there are many people who've done it more than once because it's an environment that is both fun, poetic, musical, but it keeps people practicing taking care of themselves in a way that's focused on health rather than a disease management approach. It keeps people engaged in giving them a structure, giving them guidance, so that when they go back into their work life, when they go back with their children, when they go back if they're in a committed lover relationship, they can also make it easier for them to take care of themselves rather than I should exercise or I should meditate. And for some people, they need that kind of repetition.
This is really amazing because, we are in such an addictive to speed and overload of information. And if you read a book, the book should tell you how in 3 short days and 5 easy steps, you can get to get everything that you want by Monday morning. That's not necessarily true. So you are a master of allowing someone to learn how to have a better relationship with their body, a better relationship with their disease, to dive in deep and find the healer within. And you did it first with yourself, and now you've done it with 15,000 people. We've had on the show today Dr. Barry Taylor, a rogue that kind of floated down the Rogue River with me. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Taylor, for being on the show. And I want people to go and find out about my new course, Sexy Brain. You can sign up On my website, you can take a look at my new book, Sexy Brain, that took 3 years to write. And I call it Sexy Brain because your sex steroid hormones have a lot to do with taking care of your brain. And in that book, I've got a specialized 10-day sex hormone receptor detox because it is true. We do need to be constantly resting and cleaning, and even your hormone receptors that are your main signaling system in your body need to take a rest. So this has been a great show because people often don't get this. And I see so many women today who are exercising so much that they're actually exercising themselves into the ground. I have a young man that I'm thinking of right now that just got over a really severe infection, and he just keeps putting himself into the ground because he exercises so much, because perfect bodies, buff bodies are just the goal these days. And often it's too much for people. So it's a real honor to have someone on here who's merged naturopathic medicine, nutraceuticals, understanding of food, rest your body, detox your body, and a heck of a lot of experience. So you can get a hold of Dr. Barry Taylor. No matter where you are in the world, you can sign up. And I would love, if you love shows like this, to help pass the information forward. Please go to Dr. Berkson's Best Health Radio, click on Getting into iTunes, and then click on Reviews and Ratings. And please give me a rating so that we can pass this information to all those people out there who really need it. Thank you so much, Dr. Taylor, and everybody have a really great day. Bye.